This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to What the Health? An independent approach to your health span. Have you noticed how our healthcare system may not have your best interest in mind? Join Dr. Eckel in this fun and sometimes disturbing exploration of the state of healthcare and what it means for you. Now, here's your host, Dr. Eckel.
This is Dr. Greg Eckel on What the Health, and I have my special guest today, Teepa Snow, who I so thoroughly enjoy talking about. And our topic today is on brain decline in times of COVID for ourselves, our loved ones, and in particular for those that have already started exhibiting decline with mild cognitive impairment, dementia, Alzheimer's. I want to give you a little bit of background on Teepa. She's an occupational therapist with over 40 years of rich and varied clinical and academic experience. Her experiences led her to the development of the GEMS state model for understanding the progression of dementia and the positive approach training strategies. Her company, Positive Approach to Care, PAC, provides online and in-person education and products. Teepa presents with extraordinary expertise and humor to audiences throughout the world. Teepa, welcome aboard.
Thanks, Greg. It's great to be with you again. It's been a while.
It has been a while. And I really love talking with you. You support so many people and their families with regards to strong communication and ways to interact with our loved ones, as our stats are staggering with mild cognitive impairment, dementia, and Alzheimer's, and the wealth of information and your resources that you provide. I've gotten such great feedback from my patient base and everybody that we've shared you with that they're so grateful to have your training in their lives. So thank you for that.
You're welcome, and thanks for doing what you do to help raise the concern up when people are very early in their changes so that the support can happen more naturally and in a progression pattern that actually makes sense versus diving in the deep end of the pool and going, where's the life preserver? Yeah. I don't want in this pool. Take me out. There's sharks. And it's like,
yeah. And it can be really, really stressful, to say it lightly, right?
Yeah. And
so,
then they threw COVID in the pool. And it's like, whoa.
What have you been seeing on that front?
Oh, wow. So it turned out there were two major categories. We had people who were in a residential care setting, be it nursing home, continuing care, retirement center, assisted living, or a memory care center, or or even what we'd call an apartment complex for the aged. And what happened was one day in March, it was like, boom, no more social engagement in your rooms, solitary confinement. Mm-hmm. The only people you will see will have masks on. They will have gloves on. They will be gowned if we can find the equipment to do all that. Right. And they will come and check on you only episodically. And you are to stay there until we deem it okay. So that's one group. And the other part of that equation is if families were actively involved in people's lives, either on a daily basis, a weekly basis, twice a day for meal times, they were summarily dismissed from their position because they were not paid staff, and there was no more contact. So relationships that sustained and relationships that were critical often to the well-being of both parties were summarily cut. And so there's that group. And then we have the second group where people who were living at home and getting support in their community. So they were going to programs that were in the community, memory programs, enhancement programs, Saturday programs, day programs, YMCA programs, silver sneakers programs, whether it's for all kinds of wellness programs and support programs, were boom, closed. Now you have your person 24/7 and probably no health support much in the home because, that's in a different category. So home health, if they had multiple clients, the initial plan was you can only have one client. You can't be going from, or do whatever you're going to do. I don't know, tell you what to do. We'll let you know when we figure that out. This is mostly over here right now.
Right.
But no services anymore. So we have two major groups of people who had been getting support in the community and now were cut off from everything, and family members were asked to do all the support. And then we had the facility-based programs where they were said, nope, no more contact. Maybe you'll be able to see them through a window, maybe, or on a screen, maybe, when we can get to it, but we're overwhelmed. And then we had a third group of people we didn't even know had dementia. They were living on their own, or we did know they were starting to show some changes, but it wasn't that bad yet. But to have to deal with the overwhelming shifts of COVID, suddenly just going to the store, trying to figure out how to get your meds, things got a lot more complicated quickly. So, it was a huge bomb thrown into what's already a complicated system, to say the least.
Boy, talk about unintended consequences.
Totally. Yeah.
We were talking before the show started, and just in some of the things that we've seen in our communities and the folks that we support, and it has been significant, alarming decline.
Yeah. So in facilities, one of the reasons people choose to place people in supportive care is they need help. They need guidance. People living with dementia need demonstration. They need demonstration of social engagement. They need the opportunities. They need somebody present and visible so that we can make sure things are going the way they should. They need help with initiation. They need help with transitions from one activity to another. And if they don't get that, they might either not try much of anything, or they might try things in very unsafe ways. And we saw evidence of both, added to which the number of individuals living with dementia in facilities who reported out to their care providers, I feel like I'm in prison and I haven't done anything. I don't understand. What do I have to do to get out of here? This is not right. And feeling like their rights had been violated by people trying to keep them safe. And then people would use explanations that didn't make any sense to people who were experiencing those brain changes.
Right. Wow. Yeah. So very traumatic.
Yes.
And we're going to talk
dramatic.
and dramatic. Yeah. And we're going to talk about possibly some ways out or how to repair some of that damage that has occurred in families, in separation. I've talked to some seniors that were, still fully functioning and able-bodied, no cognitive decline. Yep. But, the community center closed. And so their whole social scene, they've basically been inside.
Yep.
And
so we have those mental health changes, Greg. So we have extreme numbers in depression, in anxiety, in apathy. We also have significant changes in muscle mass. We have significant changes in visual regard, in participation. People don't even participate. They simply observe. So they're just sitting and watching. So they've become sort of observers of things, but because we stay in one environment so much, and frequently people are staying in one environment, you either turn it off because you're bored, or you start really exploring it with great detail, which means, oh my gosh, what is she doing? It means you may grab everything out of an area and move it, and then you don't remember what you did with it. And so people or I get frustrated with the people in my environment. I want them out. I can't take this anymore. So a lot of emotional distress, but there's also a huge amount of emotional apathy.
So that's the troubling part, right? Of once you get into the apathy, the shutdown, the bluntness, the non-exhilarating, no passion, no joy, the no motivation. That's the hard part, which is a little bit troubling to imagine. You said people go into assisted living for the support. And what happened was the support was withdrawn out of the assisted living.
No. So, in my mind, and I'm pretty with the system, I believe CDC totally overlooked, and I've called them the invisible victims of COVID. People living with dementia had a 10% rise in death rate over the first 4 months of this pandemic. And it's essentially many people just gave up. They can't keep going without more support. If I'm at a place in my dementia where I require assistance to eat, assistance to move, assistance, and my carers couldn't do that because they had too many people to care for. And every time they came into a room, they had the garb, they had the gown, they had the this, they had that. And they were getting the mandate, stay at arm's length. You must stay at arm's length. And we cover this over and we wonder why it's hard for people living with dementia to comprehend what we're saying.
Right.
So we have these masks on and we have additional shield on and then we have gloves on and we look like someone from outer space. And then we started again using medications to manage behaviors which suppress the system. And we would either see comfort eating, a lot of comfort eating. So we saw.
I sure did over this last.
I know it's called the COVID-10 or the COVID-20.
Yeah.
Hopefully not any more than that. Yeah. But it became, that was one of the things that I could move was my hand to my mouth, But the other side of it is when I no longer found even pleasure in doing that, weight loss, severe weight loss, like to a point of not being able to sustain life. Not interested in drinking, not interested in eating at all. Why bother? Because it was social. And when we eliminate all the social stuff, it's hard. It's very hard.
So those, one of the blessings, if we're going to have, I'm always a radical optimist, that we see going forward, how important the social aspects of us as human beings are. And that in community and in our kind of light being bodies of how much we actually need each other.
We do. And what is really interesting is there is this opportunity. What we call this is excess disability. What people living with dementia are now experiencing, and their carers, by the way, is excess loss. It's extra loss because we didn't get the environmental support, the emotional support, the physical support, the community support that we so desperately need. And so there is possibility of regaining some skills because it wasn't the dementia that did this. It was the isolation that did this.
Yeah.
So there's potential that we're going to have to activate it or it won't work. And that means we've got to really think hard about things that we can do that optimize interest in participation, not initiation. At first, we don't want to think about initiation because that's a higher order skill.
So kind of unpack that component. Yeah. So initiation of like having the individual initiate a new activity or
or even initiate a conversation or initiate something other than just sitting there. And so how do I get you to be willing to participate? What do I do? And so this is where skill building is in order. But now if the partner is also in this state, then we have challenges. So one of us has to up the ante here. Some of us has to put the money on the table and go, okay, I'm going to try it. Right. And so I want you to sort of disconnect from me. Don't make eye contact. Don't do anything. Just sort of be out. And I'm going to go, Greg.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as I did that, I took breath in.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I made a sound, and the sound I made was one of excitement. Like,
I just,
oh my heavens, look who's here. And I went, oh, and then I used one of those powerful words in the English language, your given name.
Yeah.
The thing you were given that is uniquely you. And I did it in a way that sounded like, oh, this is great. This is exciting. And it affects the reticular activating system of the brain. It gets that attention getter. I just got your attention. Now, you didn't intend to do it, but it's sort of an automatic button I can push frequently.
Sure.
Which is real different than Greg. Or heaven forbid I use your entire name, including the middle one, because that one,
that's trouble. If I heard Gregory William, that's not
that's the
Yeah.
Yeah. So we want to be really thoughtful about that initial contact. And what it means is I need to look in the mirror and practice a little bit, because if I'm not up there, I've got to get myself to a place of energy. I've got to bring my own energy up, which means that I'm changing the chemistry of my own brain. If I can look at myself in the mirror and go, Teepa, hey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And often throwing your open hand up there by your face is a great way to go, hey, because it gives the person face hand. And then I can go open my arms out and go, I am so glad to see you.
Yeah.
And whether we can actually see each other or not, your brain is like, yeah, me
that
too.
Feels really good.
It feels really good. I just got your endorphins up. I mean, I just did this little trick of bringing you up a little.
Yeah.
And then I might move my body a little bit to see if you'll track me.
Okay.
And I might actually wear a solid bright color. That makes it a little easier to find me in a background.
Yeah.
So I've got to do a lot of things getting ready here.
Wow.
Yeah. Let me show you something. And now what I might try is let me show you something. Ooh, look. And now, whoa, huh?
Yeah.
Whoa. And what I'm holding up is something from the 60s, I guess. I'm not sure.
Like a batik. We'll call it a batik.
It's a batik. Yes. It's got hot pink, turquoise, purple, bright orange, and yellow. And the plus of it is it got a bullseye on it.
Yeah.
Essentially. And I'm drawing your eye in and I'm putting it right next to me. I'm going, wow, huh? And then I can turn and both of us can look at it.
Yeah.
My favorite, the blue. And you? What do you think? Blue, purple, pink, orange.
I like the purple.
You like the purple.
Yeah.
Good choice. There's some behind you. What's on that picture?
Indeed.
Oh. Now, what did you just do with your neck and head? And your weight?
Yeah, I had to move my body.
Oh, I tricked you though.
Yeah.
So that idea of bringing you in and then showing you and then saying something and seeing if I can share and get you to share back. I'm assessing your abilities in that moment, but I'm also proposing that we try something together.
I am guessing, are you finding folks that have kind of been isolated for the family member or caregiver coming in, maybe like alarm at how much of a deficit, how much is lost of the being of their loved one?
Yeah. Alarmed is the low level word. Devastated is not an uncommon word that I had no idea how bad it was.
Wow.
I noticed that she wasn't doing much on the Zoom or on the screen or on the FaceTime, but I didn't think it was that bad. Yeah. And then to have the person actually not actively engage, if I don't have these skills when I get there, you wouldn't see anything because if I go, mom, and the person just looks at me and say, who are you? Yeah. That's whoa, but highly possible.
Right. Any suggestions or kind of ideas for folks to, if that occurs or to prepare? I mean, I think us talking about it is one piece of it.
Yeah. And one of the things I often will do is go, well, hey, it's Teepa.
Yeah.
And if the person says it's who, warning, do not then say, Mom, it's me.
Yeah.
Because what I did, hey, it's Teepa. And she went, who?
Yeah.
Pause and say, Teepa, I'm Teepa, and you are, and I'm leaving it open because in that moment, if she says, I'm Lee, it means not my mom. Okay, got it. I'm Teepa, you're Lee. Hey, Lee. Now, is that Lee Tosh or Lee Boyer? Married name, maiden name.
Got it. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where I'll find her, but I know her names, so I can offer some options and see where that goes.
Yeah. And just to see where they're at. And then you meet them.
And if I get an answer. Yeah.
Right. So either you won't get an answer or you meet them where they're at. And then that's just the theater of the day.
That's the theater of the day.
Of the reintegration and kind of bringing back.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking Lee Boyer. Okay. That was her maiden name. She married right after college. So now I know sort of the time frame. And it's like, how are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing great? Okay. Or yuck. Now notice I gave 3 ranges. Great. Okay. Or yuck.
Yeah.
Because what I'm really figuring out here, where is the person emotionally? And the reason I gave simple words, those words, great, okay, yuck, are more likely stored in a preserved vocabulary section called social chit-chat words. And I didn't ask her to go over to that. Well, how are you? Well, it's been lonely here. I mean, that's a lot of language.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. With not activating those areas of the brain and conversation or interactions on a day-to-day.
Yeah. So I want to see what happens. Like if she goes yuck and I'll go back, yuck. Oh, geez, because I'm here or something else. And see where she goes with it. Because I give her this either or option because I'm here. Oh, no, not. And that means she actually took in my data.
Yeah.
Instead of she goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll say, you're not sure. Well, I'll tell you what. Pause. I'm better for seeing you.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little serving, even though you didn't ask for anything.
Yeah.
Because I can help possibly, but not if I shove my emotion. If she's yuck and she can't figure things out, that tells me, wow, a lot of brain change going on there. And we also know there's been a lot of physical change and there's been a lot of emotional change and there's even been immune system change. I mean, she's vulnerable because holy moly, being social, and sort of getting these opportunities to touch each other and to hug each other and, hand sanitizer, use it, but just touch, this idea that, we can't touch. It's like, who stopped touching their kids during COVID? I mean, if you were with them, I mean, did you really stop touching your children, put them in a room and say, okay, be on your own. I'll check every hour or so.
Right. It is, I think some of the languaging has been so harmful of saying, even saying social distancing rather than physical distancing. Like we should have just called it physical distancing.
Yeah.
And, there's no transmission on a hug.
Yeah.
And so that physical touch, so like all of the different senses and inputs coming into the brain, right? Proprioception
is this really remarkable phenomena of de-stressing. When we give each other that deep pressure hug and we go, oh, I love you. I have so missed you. And then we release it. We encourage respiration. We encourage that out in phenomena, but we'd be hugging each other. So we're breathing over each other's shoulders. Yeah. The whole concept of arm's length or double arm's length, which is what this quote unquote social distance is never been effective for people who are in the middle or further along in dementia. They need someone closer than that to come alongside them and say, here you go. Here. Yeah. Because asking them to do something without showing what you want them to do is not nearly as effective, which is, the whole strategy of the best quality care situations is where we role model what it is we want to see. We offer the support so they're able to do the best they can do in those moments. The best way to get somebody to drink is to have a drink and say, here, try this, see what you think of it.
Yeah.
I just made this. You may not like it, but try it. Let's see. And I hold mine up, bring yours over to where you can take it. And then what I do is cheers. And as I do that, your tendency is simply to follow my lead. It's a social back and forth, and I can get you to participate. Yeah. Not initiate, participate.
Participate. So you start with that participation, not initiation. So that is a great pro tip there at the beginning in the reintroduction here. Yeah. What else are you seeing out there?
Well, we're seeing horrendous loss of muscle mass in the parts of our body that protect us from falls and allow us to move our spine around our trunk and allow us to use our upper extremities separate from respiration. And allow us to use our neck and our head muscles. And we also are seeing a lot of pain complaints. People are staying in one position, in one seat, in one place, looking at one model for way too long. So the amount of pain people are expressing is significant.
Wow. So any tips on helping loved ones with getting the movement or muscle mass back here?
Yeah.
Because some of us are still at a distance doing Zoom or more remote, so it's not totally back open.
It absolutely is not. So one of the things to think about is singing. And we could do turn taking. So if I were to try it, let me see here. She's a grand old flag. She's a high flying fag. And for
the red, white, and blue?
Red, white, and blue. Yeah. Now, Greg clearly doesn't know the next line of that one. How about, let me see. God bless America.
Land that I love.
Stand beside her.
And guide her
through the night.
And the stars up.
The light from above. Now, what do you notice I'm doing? Am I doing a really loud projected voice?
Yeah.
Are you doing the same loud projected voice?
No.
Yeah. So what I'll say, sit tall, Greg. Sit tall. Let's see if we can get a little louder here. So let's try this one. A-E-I-O-U, go.
A-E-I-O-U.
Nice. Now, when you did that, you don't realize how many muscles you moved around your face.
Yeah.
You did a lot with your face, but you also did this incredible sustained breath. And when you were finished, you sucked in a lot of air.
Yeah.
And when I had you sit tall, I had you sit tall to sing, but I actually was getting your spine come up tall. And now I say, now put your hands down and I want you to put your chest out, put your hands behind your back. You're on parade stance.
Okay.
Okay. Now look to the left, look to the right, back to the left. What was over there?
What was over there? I've got some tents out on the city streets of Portland.
Oh, you've got tents out on the city street. Yeah. What I just got you to do was use your eyes not only to look, but to identify. And you just did far focus with your eyes as opposed to looking at the friggin' screen all the time.
Right. Awesome.
And by having you put your arms back there, you were more likely to move your upper trunk and keep your solid base. And I'm starting with little things because, if I get you to get up and move, I'll lose you from the screen.
Right. 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 So what do you do if they're not participating?
Yeah.
You're not able to engage them.
Yeah. So they're sitting there and the eyes are closed, and I may start with a song that we both know.
Okay.
So I'll start back from one in childhood. So, oh, are you sleeping? Are you sleeping, Brother Greg? Brother Greg?
Uh-huh.
You are resting, and I was hoping for a visit. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Ah, bingo.
Yeah.
So that simple thing, knock, knock, ask permission to come in. And I've tricked a lot of people with knock, knock.
Yeah. Really? They'll respond to that.
Absolutely. Like, people will go, who's there? Or they'll go, yeah. Because knock, knock is that, it's that joke from first grade, second grade, third. I mean, it's all the joke. It's that call and respond.
Right. Wow. That's an awesome way, because it can be really depressing, right? You haven't been in contact with your loved one, and they're just slumped and blah, not engaged. And, your heart breaks when you see that. And
it does. And we give up rather than go digging in and going, well, who is that? I can't tell. It's just the top of your head. Ooh, but you have good hair, at least. And I'm chattering a little bit, but I'm pausing with each chat to get the chit chat going.
Got it. Yeah. And giving that cadence and that space for the response.
Absolutely. Ooh, something happened today. I have to tell you about it. Now, you may not care, but I was at the store and I went in the front door, and you're not going to believe this. What? Now, what do you want? You want the answer, don't you?
Yeah.
They had pineapples. And they said they're from Hawaii. Do you believe them or not? What do you think?
Oh, I believe them.
You believe them?
Yeah.
So should I get one? What do you think?
It sounds pretty delicious.
Sounds pretty delicious. Yeah. Now, I'm again sucking you in. What do you think? What do you think? Should I get one? Question. Add a question and a pause. Then if you don't get anything, what do you think? If I don't get anything, I'm thinking I might try. Now, cutting a pineapple. Let me think. How do I do that? Slice the top off first or the bottom? Which one should I do? And it's called self-talk, but I'm making less eye contact. I'm glancing every now and then, but I'm actually moving my hands in different motions, and I'm seeing whether I can catch your attention.
And are you looking for their eye response, or they're moving around, or whatever that is?
Whatever it is. It might be a glance. They might glance up to see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So cutting the top, cutting the bottom. If I cut the bottom, it sits more solid. But if I get rid of that top part, it's not so prickly.
Yeah.
And then the next time, if I caught your attention this time, guess what I'm bringing next time?
You're bringing the pineapple.
I sure enough am. And the knife and the cutting board.
Yeah.
And, so now I even have my next visit planned.
Got it. I'm ready for story time with Teepa. I think it could be,
guess what I found at the store? Golf tees.
Golf?
Golf tees. Now, tell me something. Show me a putt. Show me how you putt. Now, you stand over it, right? And you aim down. So show me that. You put your hands together. Now, is it one thumb on top of the other? Or how do you do that with your hands? Show me your hands. And so it's one thumb and then the other thumb. Okay. So you're grasping it. Good. Okay. Now, do you do a big swing or just a tiny little thing?
For putting, I'm just going to do a small.
A tiny one. Now, what if you're driving? What does that look like? What am I going for, Greg?
Yeah, big movement. Big.
Yeah. And so how did I start that?
Show me your stance.
Nope. See, I caught you. What was the first thing I did?
What was the first? I don't know. You're very polished at this.
Yeah. Guess what I saw at the store?
Guess, that's right. Yeah. Guess what I saw at the store? Yeah.
Golf tees.
Golf tees.
How did golf tees get you to do a big rotary movement with both arms, both legs over your hips?
Huh. Right. Yeah. Out of nowhere. Yeah.
Out of nowhere. Out of left field. Well, that's where the ball goes for me, but.
Indeed. Lovely. No, that's a really great, it's playful as well. So.
That's the name of the game. How do children learn?
Yeah, by mirroring. It's
So when we're with kids love to learn, and they love, their work is play, their play is work. They repeat and repeat and repeat until they get something. Yeah. And so what we want to be thinking about is this may take repeat until somebody's brain wakes up and is able to function, because there's been this disuse atrophy going on.
Mm. And is it possible to get it back? So, I mean, there's like two separate deficits happening, right? We've got the dementia component, and then we've got this isolation and armed social distance.
So what we know is there might be some unused reserve under there. Maybe I can uncover the reserve that's still unused, because it might very well be that dementia hasn't destroyed the brain. It's just that we haven't used those areas in a while, and they're rusty and they're worn and they're not in great shape. But if I'm willing to invest, we might get back some of that change. We are just right now at the very beginning window of being willing to look beyond the distress to say, okay, so what am I going to do with it? I mean, here's where we are, it looks like.
Right.
So what am I going to do? Grieve more? I mean, how's that helpful? I mean, I understand the need to grieve, but grieving more, I don't know where that's going to take me as a human being. I can only handle so much grief. You said I'm an optimist. I'm not necessarily a great optimist, but I believe in the power of choosing to make a difference. Sure. And if I could make a difference somewhere, I choose to do that, because not making that choice means I give up, and I don't give up easy.
And that's a great point. I mean, I think the component, you don't have to be a radical optimist. I feel I'm blessed with it. However, is the emotion getting you to where you want to be? Is it adding or subtracting from your situation?
There you go. I mean, and for me, not participating.
Right.
Not giving it a try is admitting I give up. And I'm just, I'm not willing to do that on somebody. There's somebody out there that's counting on me not giving up, is what I believe.
Indeed. I'm with you there. And it is a great mindset, and to realize that you're not a victim of the situation. They're not a victim, and you get a choice in the matter and decision. It's so powerful. And it's a powerful state of being in the world that way. So
I finally have a locus of control. I feel like I have some control over what might happen. Now, I don't control everything, but I don't know anybody who controls everything in my world. But, what I can control, I'll control. What I can't, I'm going to let it go, because it's not mine to control. What I can do is ask questions, though. So why do I have to wear gloves again? I don't have any open areas on my hands. I have hand sanitizer with me. I'm willing to use soap and water if that's what you prefer. And I understand the rule of don't touch around my own face and then touch someone else and then touch around my face, or don't touch them after I've touched I get that. Yeah. So I'll be happy to do my hand sanitizer or washing, but I would prefer to use open skin contact, because they lay babies on mom's chests and in dad's arms for a reason.
Right. Yeah, that's in touch for you and for them.
Yes.
You're getting as much benefit as they are with coming through the hands. And even hand massages.
Yep. Lotion on skin. I mean, the number of, how much touching has happened? And the answer is almost none. It's one of the reasons care providers who love what they did in long-term care are devastated as well. I mean, they are as much overwhelmed by this phenomena. The number of people they've lost up close and personal, people dying in their arms, people losing abilities, and they've been trapped in this model of no touching and don't go close. And it's been hard because despite all that, there have been horrible outbreaks where people lost a lot of folks. And there have been other places where they lost no one. Everybody was still together. Everybody didn't wear masks and gloves in their little community, but they were very rigid about the outside world and how they were dealing with that. Yeah. And we have a friend in Hawaii that they're back to visiting in person. Finally, they're all excited, and they didn't lose anybody to dementia, to COVID. I mean, and they did have some folks pass, but that was those were people who progressed through their dementia and passed, not excess.
Yeah, natural progression.
Yeah.
So what, with folks watching this and, maybe have some loved ones or their community members, like, what's the way to start the dialogue, the inventory, the engagement? Like, we can't go back, so we have going forward. So what's the way to kind of get them? Because it can feel very overwhelming.
It can feel overwhelming. The first is to try a connection, and the first connection might be to the other partner that you're going to be working with. So if I'm an outside family member and I've got to work with whoever's in the building, the first connection is, hi, I'm Teepa, and I would really, really like to talk for like 5 minutes. I'm going to set a timer because I want to be real respectful of your time. Mm. I want to spend some time with my mom, and I could really use your help. Mm. I'm not sure whether or not she's going to be able to even recognize me or be able to engage with me. How's she doing with you? Mm. So I'm doing a pre-assessment of what the person who spends time around her is noticing. So how much talking have you noticed her doing lately? Does she answer questions? Does she chit chat with you? Just a few questions so I get a sense of what is she doing with the people who are currently immediately around her. And at 5 minutes, thank you so much. You have been super helpful. Now, I am so hoping, finish my plea. I am so hoping you'll be the one to be with mom when I call her, when I visit with her, because I so want it to be you if possible, because what I want to do is build my relationship with you as well as with my mom, because I've got to develop a better way of getting this back and forth going on again, because it's been basically cut off. Yeah. And so I want to start with small bites. And if I did 5 minutes with that person, I may need to be prepared for a very short window of time, not window visit, but window of time with my mom, because my visit may exhaust her. Mm. And it may exhaust me. Right. And better leaving them wanting more than feeling like you just wipe me out. But we also want to be sensitive to how does she let go when you leave her room? Because I want to know what that might look like for me before I start the visit.
So, talk about that. Like what?
Yeah. So if she gets clingy, where are you going? I thought you would stay longer. I thought I would get to stay longer too. It turns out I've got to do something. But Mary, did you have a couple chocolates? Ooh, this is where dark chocolate has a role in life.
Many more than just that one, but that's
more than just that one. Yeah. Or whatever I know one of her favorites are that I actually gave to Mary before I even went in. So it's a poor substitution, but we know that often putting something in your mouth with your hand might actually relieve some of the distress of losing me. So, it's a poor substitution, but it's a substitution. Sure. Something warm and fuzzy if it's more of a comfort item, something that's colorful and bright. So I give it to Mary to give to her rather than me give it to her.
Ah, so that's some pre-planning. So that's really, again, sage advice there on
Yeah.
thinking through that whole process. And
Because I got to get her to want Mary, not me.
right.
And if she does recognize me and is really excited about my being, then figuring out how to get her to let me go again. It's not going to be as long next time, Mom.
Yeah.
I absolutely promise. And talk with staff and the community about hugs. Go ahead and talk about it before you get there. You need to know what the rules are in their building on hugs. Is it a rule or is it a recommendation? I've had mine, Mom's had hers, vaccines. So if that's the case, and what's their rule and what's their recommendation? And we got to figure that out because CDC came out with some guidelines. So I'm curious what they're going to say. And I want to know what the rules are and what the recommendations are so that I can make an informed decision about risk for myself and my mom.
Yeah. Lovely. Lovely. You know, it is, it's one of these areas that has really, we're going to just see what the repercussions are for years to come for all parties involved with it. And, so this has been so enlightening, and I love the play and the theater and your kind of the skill set. I was like, gosh, maybe I should get into, like, I need a storytelling workshop or along these lines, you know? And, you know, definitely want to direct folks to the website and your resources there. Is that some of the things that you teach in the positive approach to care?
Absolutely. These strategies that I'm using are ones that we know work with brains that are changing, brains that are different, brains that are struggling. And I'm using strategies that, you know, 40 years as an OT, I've run across, I've done head injury. I've done lots of situations where, I've got to figure out how to get the door open or I'm not going anywhere with someone. And so what I learned, I try to share because I just see way too many people knocking and knocking, but they're pounding on the door and it just makes the person not want to open the door.
Right.
You know, for fear of what's out there. And it's like, you just have to go knock, knock and pause.
Yes. And give them ample time, just like on the school bus from the old knock knock jokes.
Yeah, you got it.
In kind of the last bit of the show, anything else that you would love to share with our listeners and viewers of What the Health?
When I say, how's it going for you? I'm not just talking about people living with dementia. Yeah. Anyone who's around or associated with someone living with dementia, we should be checking in with each other and say, how are you doing? Here, here, or here. Thumbs up, thumbs neutral, thumbs down. Because we need to recognize this pandemic has impacted everybody in some way. And I need to check in on the friends I care about, the people I know, the opportunities that I have. And if someone's here, tell me more about it. And then follow it up with, so it sounds like it's really been hard. What are at least two things, though, that haven't been as awful as they might have been? And what's one thing you wish or want to do something about right now? Because if we don't help people turn this around by looking for, you know, the cup is almost empty. It feels bone dry. And it's like, well, you got a cup. Wonder if there's any place to get water around here.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. And what do you want to try? Do you want to just sit here and weep, or shall we try something? And the idea of this is the point of change. And whether we're talking about people living with dementia or the people who've been trying to do the best they could, and they're exhausted, or they're doing great. I should hear that story too, because maybe we found something new and different when we were all locked up together.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, you can see that conversation going three ways of, right? Of,
absolutely.
I'm not participating. Mm-hmm. It's even worse than what you're saying. Or, wow, you know, I got really into puzzle making, you know, like I got this really pretty 1,000-piece puzzle that I put together, and
super
surprised that I even liked that.
Wow. So you got to figure out that your eye-hand thing and your problem solving, you did something a little different with it. Well, congratulations. You grew some brain cells that way and some brain connections.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So care for the caregiver is also a major piece, even if they're not living with you or
even if they're not living, because being alone and watching the person you care about through a screen, through a window, not seeing them at all, feeling like you've abandoned someone, that's been a really, and if heaven forbid you're one of those people who've lost a family member to COVID or to death over this year, you didn't even get to do the things you classically do to celebrate their life, to recognize your loss, to come together and to grieve and to remember and to lift up that relationship. So finding a place and a time, one-on-one at least, to share grief or to offer support is, I think at this point, absolutely critical before we start moving on.
Yeah. So any techniques or suggestions around that, the sharing of grief, because that is an interesting concept and definitely much needed. So, but I also see that could get really dark together. Without skills.
Yeah. And so I heard your dad passed during the pandemic. How was that? Did that go okay, or was that really awful for you? Yeah. What was for you, what was one of the really hard spots? What was one of the really hard spots? How did you get through that? Are you still? Wow. Okay. Well, what could we do? I mean, I hate that you did it alone. So this is that time. We do not have enough psychologists, social workers, or any other designated personnel to take on the amount of grief there is out there. But there is a way to help people look what they've got and limit how much you can handle and just say, here's the thing I remember about your dad. He was a great storyteller. There was the time I came to your place in the summer and he was showing me the picture on the wall. And I just want to think beforehand, what's a memory of her dad that I have that leads us out of grief into remembrance and into a remembrance that has value, that has purpose, that shows her dad as I saw him in that moment. And, I don't know if he was always like this, but when I was with him, here's the thing I remember. And it gives her a chance to see the man again and to be with her dad again and to find a time that was more pleasurable, not so painful.
So shared stories, memories, that's a great idea. Yeah. And then you have that shared commonality as well. Like you both kind of remember, or maybe they didn't even know the story of their.
Right. They didn't realize he'd done that when I was there. And I go, you know what? Before I leave, the one thing I'd love a hug. I'd love a hug. Yeah. And again, got to assess your wrist, but I'd love a hug. And I think sometimes handshakes are great. Hugs are really different. If you don't want to get quite so close, clasp hands and then come in and do that hug thing. But I truly believe that we've got to at some point learn how to hug each other.
Right. And not be so concerned on, we're not all walking around as vectors or, infectious beings, which is kind of what has been groomed into us at this point.
Right. I'm not sure I'm that dangerous.
Yeah. No. And I've actually told, my kids were worried about, seeing their great aunt and, Aunt Joan really wanted them at the birthday party. And I said, look, you guys you're powerful, but you're not that powerful. You're not going to kill Aunt Joan. You're not, because it doesn't matter. Even if you had COVID and you gave it to her, it's not you. It's her body's response to a virus that does it. And so this is an infectious thought process that we're killing our loved ones by loving them. Like it's such a corrupt thought process. Look, if you have concerns, look away, hold your breath, but frickin' give them a hug. Yeah. Like we need to start touching each other again.
So, and I say to Aunt Joan, are you good with me bringing the kids? You really want them there? And she goes, yeah. it's my life and I really want them here. And it's like, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah. That's what we're doing. And, you know, folks, if you've got, you know, I know there is some concerns out there. Get care, get help, get the integrity of your being up. Like, get your vitamin D level checked, get your loved one's vitamin D level checked, get it up there between 50 and 80. You know, I've got my producer kind of reaching in. So Cameron, bless you, says my mom was in the hospital. And wished that he could have like taken off his mask and given her a kiss.
So before she died, she was COVID diagnosed with positive COVID, and it was the last day I could see her before I had to come back to the States because this was in Canada. And the nurse had us all in this PPE gear, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And so I said, well, Mom, I got to go because it's time is up for me and time's up for you. You got it. You're done. And so the nurse said, no, make sure you don't touch her. And I took my mask off, kissed her on the forehead, gave her a big hug. And I said, you're not going to tell me I can't kiss my mom on the last day I'm going to see her before she dies. So get out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for real, like, where is that? Like, there's been an overstepping of bounds of like, my mom is dying and you're telling me I can't touch or kiss her. Yeah. And I know you're not alone with that. And that has happened to too many people this last year. And it is unreasonable that occurred. So one, I'm glad, Cameron, that you were able to kind of step through that and in your strength and do what you needed to do so that you sleep, at night. And for all of those that may have not had that gumption or didn't do it and, have regret, like, one, just forgive yourselves. And, you can still contact them on the other side.
Exactly.
You can't go back. But thank you so much for sharing that, Cameron. Teepa, this is such an important conversation to have. I love talking with you. I mean, I could be at like Teepa's story time around a fire or on the Zoom. You are such a marvelous storyteller and engaging. And, this is the skill set that we're needing to rebuild and heal is so necessary for all of us. So again, I want to thank you for coming on. Any last parting wisdom or words?
Grace is something we're going to need to offer each other as we move forward, but we also want to be curious about each other and say, so it sounds like you're really worried about that. I hear you. I'm worried about different things. So let's figure out how we can be together maybe, or maybe we can't yet. I'm not sure, but let's figure out how to move forward. How about?
Lovely. Lovely. Well, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. Everybody, this is What the Health, and you're hearing it here. If you like the show, this is a big conversation to start having with your loved ones, your community. So please share this. It gives a lot of suggestions and really practical advice on how we move forward together as community and bringing back our lives again. So please share, tag 2 or 3 friends or family members. Get this conversation started in your family. And remember, you heard it here, What the Health. And this is why I started this platform. I want to share these stories to help enliven and enrich your lives. So please share us, get out, give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. And we are here on Tuesdays on the Contact Talk Radio, 2 to 3 p.m. Pacific time. We'll see you next week.